This right here gonna be a cakewalk.
Today we're going to be talking about a long list of characters. Harada is doing many polls on his Twitter, and we want to know, one, what are these polls for? And then two, are these characters somehow going to be DLC? If your character win the poll, are they more likely to show up as DLC? That's the question. But before we dive really deep into the answer, first off, I want to say happy birthday to Harada. It was his birthday a couple of days ago. The guy turned 54. He's been working on a franchise for 30 years. Dedicating the majority of your life to this franchise, I just say thank you and I appreciate you, and also happy birthday. Now, focusing on the topic of today, there's a total of 4 polls. The first 2 has already been published and the next 2 will be published after the first 2 complete. So subscribe to the channel because I'm definitely going to be doing a follow-up where we cover the last 2 polls. In the tweet it says block C and D are after the completion of A and B surveys. Who those characters will be, only time will tell, but the sky is the limit. Focusing on the first tweet, it says 1 out of 2, block A. There's a survey tweet, total of 8 options. The survey result do not immediately affect anything, just a reference question for the community here. So it does not immediately, but eventually this will take some kind of shape on the game. One thing I will say just generally, all of these 8 characters that are listed, none of them are in Tekken 8. So when you say it does not affect the game immediately, my mind think to, okay, they're trying to gauge what characters the players like so they can possibly shape a Season 3 or a Season 4. I think Season 2 is already down packed and they're working on it. If you see Street Fighter, they're already releasing their DLC characters, so you see how fast the DLC cycle is going. This is definitely a Season 3 type of thing, if it is in fact DLC oriented. But the 4 characters that's listed on the first tweet, you have Eliza, Katarina, Julia / Michelle, that's a question mark, and then you have Anna, which I voted for. A total of 50,000 votes on this poll. It has 5 hours and 30 minutes left, but I don't think the results is going to skew too heavily in any which direction. Katarina, of course, a lot of people find this character to be very bland and boring. In my opinion, she never had a chance. When you add a new character into a franchise, you have to give people a reason to switch. And Katarina, in my opinion, it wasn't a good reason. Story, trash, gameplay, basic. You know, 8% makes sense to me. Now, Eliza, 26%. You know, a lot of people also say Eliza's sleeping face, but 26%, especially when you're going up against a Julia and Anna, is incredible. Even though this character was very powerful in Tekken 7 just because of the 2D mechanics, I think if they did add her into Tekken 8, it would be more balanced because a lot of characters can dish out that same level of power and aggression that she was doing in Tekken 7. Now for Anna. We talked a lot about Anna. I have another video that's coming down the road where I talk a little bit more specifically about her, but you guys kind of know my general ideas. A lot of people request her, not that many people actually play her when you look at the usage data. This poll, for being one of the most requested characters in the game, up there with Armor King, she loses to Julia. What that says about the character, I don't know. But every time Anna gets an opportunity to shine, the player base just doesn't support her the way they say they do. Now for Julia / Michelle. Julia is a really cool character. I think she will eventually make her way in Tekken 8, but also I think that would be a mistake. You guys know how I feel. Julia, she's okay. Michelle, she's old and outdated. I feel the best character to bring in when you're talking about the Julia clones is JC, the female version of Julia. She is incredible. She was introduced in Tag 2, made canon in Tekken 7. Now let her really shine in Tekken 8 is my opinion. Now when I see Michelle on here, I'm very clueless as to why they included her. You know, if we're talking about DLC, what is that about? Why is she there? Why is there a / I don't understand that. That is a head scratcher. But there is a lot of people who celebrate. They want her to return. I think every character has some type of diehard player base. From Ganryu to Beck to Wang to Michelle to whoever you want to dig out of the grave. Wang or something like that, right? But for this poll, 50,000 votes, Julia comes out on top with 34%. That's pretty interesting. The second poll, it says 2 out of 2. Block B. There are 2 survey tweets. Total of 8 options. The survey results do not immediately affect anything, just a reference question for the community here. Same thing as the first one. On this one, you have a different set of characters. Once again, these are not characters who are in Tekken 8. You have Josie, Kunimitsu, Lucky Chloe, and Kazumi. A total of 56,000 votes. Kazumi comes in last place, just barely, 17%. I think Kazumi, even though Tekken 7 was kind of dedicated to her clan, and basically the origin of the Devil Gene, I feel like it still wasn't a thorough explanation. There's still a lot of question marks, like where did her clan go? How did her clan get the Devil Gene? What is their relationship with Azazel? Kazuya did a lot of interesting things with the Devil Gene in Tekken 8. Why didn't Kazumi do it? It seems like she would have more knowledge than Kazuya, right? So there's a lot of question marks in terms of story surrounding Kazumi, but in terms of gameplay, this character fell off hard after she was eventually nerfed, and this character ceased to exist. And in my opinion, I think the developers learned from that. If you look at the way they do patch notes now, they don't really put characters in the trash can, because in the past, we saw how that negatively affected the character so brutally. Now, if you talk about Josie, the one I voted for, 18%. The reason why I voted for Josie is because I think when you talk about Tekken 7, the characters who are the most fun to fight against, Josie was definitely up there. There was a lot of bullies in Tekken 7 and also Tekken 8, and we don't really focus on the characters who are pleasant to fight against. I think Josie is one of those, and in my opinion, I would want her to return for that reason. Also, just talking briefly about her story, she wanted to join the Mishima Zaibatsu, but now that Reina is seemingly in control of it, will she still be allied with them? I don't know. It's just food for thought. Now, second place on this, 24%, Kunimitsu. A lot of people ask me, will Kunimitsu show up in Tekken 8? And it's very difficult because she is a character who showed up at the very, very end of the game. With a character like Lydia, they already told us previously that they want her to make a big impact on the story. With Kunimitsu, they never said anything of that sort. They hinted at this rivalry between Yoshimitsu, where she gets the sword and yada yada yada, but they did that for every character. Every character has something that they hinted at but never came to fruition. Really the most interesting thing about Kunimitsu is at the tail end of Tekken 7, she started to become more and more popular. Even as the nerfs was kind of piling on, she still continued to rise up, and that's in a stark contrast to some of the other characters like Fahkumram and Marduk, who started to go down as they received nerfs. It's really just a matter of, do they want to sell this character again? A lot of players do not like getting Marduk, Fahkumram, and Lydia all over again. And if you think about it, out of the last 5 characters to show up in Tekken 7, right? You talk about Zafina, Leroy, Fahkumram, Lydia, and Kunimitsu. Kunimitsu is the only one who's not currently in the game, so she is an outlier. Now, when you talk about the winner of this poll, 41%, Lucky Chloe is surprisingly on top. You hear a lot of bad things about Lucky Chloe. The player base swears up and down they hate this character. They say her personality's trash, her fighting style's trash, her design's trash, her voice is trash, singing, everything about the character is trash. Yet, when you stack her up on this poll, she is #1. Even if you go back to the previous poll, none of those other characters have a 41%. So the fact that Lucky Chloe is pushing out so far ahead of the others, that says a lot. I also wanted to see how Lucky Chloe's story progresses. She was one of the few characters in Tekken 7 who was allied with Kazuya Mishima, so it seemed. We don't know how much she knew about the Devil Gene and everything Kazuya did, but she was definitely a prominent role in G Corporation. If you pay attention to the lore, it says she is the sponsored face of G Corporation. Kazuya is the man in the shadows, or at least he was until Heihachi exposed him. But talking about the gameplay now, it's like, yeah, this character's trash. Her gameplay in Tekken 7 was obnoxious. Really, I didn't feel that burdensome by what this character was offering until the 5.0 update, where they made her Cali roll wall stagger. Once they did that, they changed the frames on block. That's when the character became truly obnoxious. With these 8 requests, the players had this back and forth with Harada. Someone says these surveys don't feel fair because you're basically putting in a fight 4 characters whose results may vary depending on the character you are using. Anna wouldn't have the same amount of votes versus Katarina. So I've been doing polls on YouTube for about 2 years, and I understand if I put Armor King on anything, it's going to completely destroy the results. So sometimes I'll leave Armor King or Anna or Bruce off just to see what other characters people want. But in response to this, Harada says, There's nothing fair or unfair in the design of the question. The intent was there on the part of the person asking the question. The classification of the blocks makes sense, but due to the statistic data background that you don't have an analogy for, I'm not looking for your standard of fair or unfair. I love that answer. You should read the original post carefully. This is a reference question to the community here. Moreover, we already have more objective marketing survey apart from this one. That's a quantitative, dispassionate, generalized statistic that's out there. So you think we make all of our decisions based solely on those statistics? If that were the case, I wouldn't bother asking a lot of opinions in a place like this where a core audience is gathered. Wow. I can see what the other person is saying, but at the same time, one, we don't know what Harada's intent with these character polls are, but at the same time, it's okay to ask a poll and just put the characters wherever you feel like it's his poll. It's his poll, he could put it wherever. It's not like some that is a weird, animains, that's it, animains. They see their character losing and they're upset. That's it. Subscribe to the channel. I'll cover the final 2 polls once they're published, but for now, that's it.